Well, welcome to Cord Art. I'm going to try and make this pink or sweet pink flower. As you can see, it's got two leaves. That's the leaf knot. We'll be looking at that. We're going to start off by making the centre, which is a double stop knot made out of orange and yellow, and the stem. Then we'll go on to make the leaves, and then we'll go on to make the actual pink petal. Yeah. So what do we need for making the centre? What we need is two 20-inch pieces of cord, orange and yellow. Make sure that they're melted off at the ends. Just notice that that one wasn't. Yeah. Offer them together, and we're going to do a double stop knot. Right. Now I keep the orange on the right hand side. Over the top of the centre finger. Level them out so they're about the same length. Yeah. Over that centre finger. Grab hold of the two bottom ones. Bring them around and over the thumb. Pinch these two, or pinch those cords together, and just twist it onto there. Now, what you do need to make sure of is you can see the orange is on the top, so outside the yellow. You can see that the orange is coming inside the yellow there. So we need to actually manoeuvre that so that we've got the orange going completely around that loop, like so, yeah? Then we're going to push these two vertical ones up through, like so, yeah? And then the same vertical ones, but the lower part of it, they're going to come up around here, and I'm going to do one at a time. Orange first, because it's on the right hand side, and through. And then the yellow. And we'll try and keep them in order, like so. Now if we look at that carrot knot now, you can see that there's a nice little diamond in the middle. Just show you that. There's the diamond. Let's just straighten it up a little bit. And as you can see, we've got the orange going around the top of that one and the yellow coming around the bottom of that one. Yeah. Now the idea is to get these two up through that diamond and these two up through that diamond. But they've got to travel around this piece I've got my finger on. So they go to the opposite ends. So these two are going to come around here, round this stanchion which I'm holding on to, and up through the diamond. See if I can show you. So that yellow one is going to come round here. It's going to come up through that diamond hole. The orange one will follow it. That's the idea anyway. So yellow first, because it's the closest one to me. Up through the hole. Yeah. The orange one's going to come nicely just below it and back up through the hole. We've gone round this base part with both of them. So we just ease them out like so, yeah? Keeping hold of our two at the base. Now these two have got to travel round this part of the base. Orange first, up through, bit of a tug, yellow round and up through. Not easy when you're actually using 4 cords to make a stopper knot. Right, so there, we've got all 4 coming up through. I've got hold of the loop that was around my finger. Now we're going to just gently pull, shape. Now we've got a yellow and orange this end, yellow and orange that end, which we're pulling. We now want to pull one part of that loop to tighten, the other part of that loop to tighten, shaping again, bit of a tug. You can see we've got some loose cords here. There's a yellow cord loose there and an orange. So we're going to actually go through and tighten those up. I can see it comes round here, that orange one. Tighten that one up, down through there, and I know with experience that one of these oranges is going to pull the slack out. Yeah. Same with the yellow. A few little tugs here and there. Now, the idea is for us to end up with no loops on top and only one cord coming away from the bottom. That's quite easy to achieve. What we're going to do is find out where two of our cords actually go to, and by pulling you can see them moving, and I know that these two just here are two of these, so we're going to pull them two right up so that they just, show you carefully here, just disappear into the knot. There goes the yellow, now the orange, just into the knot. Now ignore the two that were at the top two loops. We're still working with these two loops that we just pulled up the ends there. We come round with the yellow, pull that loop through. Now don't over pull it, because you'll pull the whole thing through. You'll pull the end through. The orange, pull that loop through. Try and keep them in line like so. Doesn't really matter if they go off, but it does look neater. Now that we've actually pulled them through that one, we can actually tighten them a bit tighter as we go through to the next one. Then the yellow. Now, the two bits that we just pulled through are going to meet up with these loops now. So we're going to pull the yellow first, keeping in mind that that is on our right hand side. Bring the orange through, and that's on the right hand side. Yeah. Now, they're on the right hand side. We want to actually pull all this up through the left hand side. And I know with experience that it's these two. So we'll start to pull the yellow first. I won't pull it fully through at the moment. And then the orange. Keep you in shot. Now, we want to just pull those loops into the knot. And again with the yellow, just into the knot. Bring them down, next section of the knot, like so, and the yellow, and then our top two pieces of cord should be able to pull these two through now. So we go, now we don't want it to twist. Can you see it twisting? So we twist that end to get it back to square. That one's okay. Give it a good old tug. And this is going to be the centre of our flower. So now we can actually snip that yellow bit off. That's done with. So there we are. But this is flexible, this is solid, this is green, and that is orange. So I've got to do something about that. So we want to keep them all more or less the same length, and I'm cutting them to about 8 inches. yay, yeah, 8 inches. So we'll cut the stem at 8, waist, so we're like so, here. Now we want a piece of wire. This is quite stout wire. I've put a loop on the end so it doesn't, as I'm pushing it down through this orange cord, it doesn't catch hold of it, it just goes through. So let's attempt that. I mean, it's not 100%. I've just pulled the inners out of there slightly so that we can feed this wire down in there. Yep, that's good, that's right home. A piece of wire is now right home to the top of there. Now we don't want the wire hanging out, so we'll pull some of the cord down, cut off the excess of wire, bring that back there nicely. I'm just going to measure with my green piece. Yeah, that's long enough. So right, we'll just smarten those ends up by cutting them off. Now, when we heat this up, because we've got a bit of flex there at the end of the metal, because I cut the metal back short, I want to get a nice end on this, which will go onto a fid without too much mucking around. Right, so there's our fid. I think it's taken. Yeah. We've got, what length is that? It's about 10 inches. The orange bit's about 8 inches. This is about 10 inches. We're going to gut that. Take those out. With our torch, we're just going to very quickly go over the ends so they don't start to unravel, yeah? I'm not too happy with the way that that's gone on there. It's sharp. We will try it. Let's see what happens. So we're going to put that onto the fid. That's the end that we just touched over onto the flame. And then just work it down the fid, like so. Work it down the fid like that. Remove the fid. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit short, we're going to be tying a lot more stuff on there. As long as the bulk of it is green. And we're going to melt that green onto our orange at the base, like so. We can probably get a bit more up there now. Yeah, it has gone to the more or less to the top. Can you see that? Also just goes like that as well, because obviously the metal finishes just here. So that will be the face of the flower. And that's all I want to show on this bit. As you can see, I'm busy making quite a few of these. So as I come to make the leaves, I'll do a section on how to make the leaves. Bear with me and I'll be back with you. Well, welcome back to Cord Art. In this session we're going to actually be making leaves. You can see that I've been rather busy making these leaves. In fact, I've made 14, I believe. I'm going to make another 2. You can see that they're slightly different in size. You can use them either way. I mean, I've chosen to use them on this flower like so, but you can use them like that. They'll look just as good. Just trim the tops off, melt them over, and there's the stems. So how do we go about making these leaves? I need a large and a small for the flower that we're making. I made these a bit bigger than the ones that we're going to make, but I've decided to bring them down slightly. What we need is 2 pieces of 40-inch cord, 2 bits of wire. Now one is, I believe, just check my, yeah, one is 5 inches long, and again I've made that bend on the top there, yeah, so that it doesn't do any damage, and the other one is 4 inches long. So what do we do with that? Well, we put the 40-inch piece, I've got a piece ready there, fit on that end. On the other end we want it open, and we'll do the larger one of the 2 together. Just get in position there. So we grab hold of the inners of the core, slide that 5-inch right down till it just disappears. Grab hold of the green and the inner cores, pinch it tight, push up so that it bunches on the wire, and then pull that bit all together plus the white. So you've got about an inch, no, it's more than an inch, it's about 2 inches, yeah. And then we're going to cut that end off like so. I'm going to heat that up so that the wire can't get out, like so. So now we have the piece of wire about 2 inches inside with the doubled over piece there. Now what we're going to do next is bend it in half, round in a circle, like so. So this is a leaf knot, but this is a leaf knot plus, if you like, my own design. So we've got then that leaf shape. Now what we need to do is make sure that the wires are right at the end, like so. We need just the smallest dab of super glue there. And that's on my trousers, unfortunately. My wife will be after me. And we're going to make that stick just on there like so. Take it off my fingers. And we're going to take that, we've come up, round, stuck it on top, and then we're going to go round and up through. We're then going to take it across the leaf to there. So we come up through, take it to the just to there, go round that side, and then back up through. Now it's all a matter of going through the centre each time we wrap round the wire, yeah? And it's a matter of keeping the tension on one way or the other. So we've come up through there from this side, round this side this time, up, back and through. Like so. Round that left side, back up through. It's a bit monotonous, but it gets you there eventually. You can see that we're starting to come up through like so. Now, I'll just see if I can zoom through that. In fact, what I think I'll do is I'll switch you off whilst I'm just going backwards and forwards through there until we get to the top, and I come back. So we're getting to the top of this now, and as I say, we just follow through, round like so, keeping the tension, back down through this hole, round the other side, back down through this hole. You can see it's looking quite effective. Now as we get to the end here, there's a tendency to just want to go round and round and round, but don't do that. Take it to the other side, like so, down through. Keep the pattern going, right over this side again. Like so, and even though we seem to be running out of space, keep it going. As I say, you'd think I'll just go over again, but come round this side and up through that way. It's a bit fiddly, but it's worth sort of taking your time to get it right. So there's one there. You can see that it's flat on top, so we can get one more through there at least, if not more. That's it. Here we go, round like so. Tighten up, and I think we can get one more in the centre there somehow. I might have to work at it, but we'll get it in. Yep, there we go. And that's the last one. And that's come up nice. It's a nice, neat leaf. I have made these without wire. You lose control of them. In fact, I've made quite a few of these in the past. Just show you this. This is a project that I did some time ago. I did a black and yellow bee and a brown and yellow bee. Looking a little bit ancient at the moment, but can you see its wings of a similar sort of effect? It's got wire around, and then these are the inner cores, just backwards and forwards. You can imagine that took quite some time to make, but that's the effect I'm looking for with the leaves. Well, welcome back to the third part of this making a summer flower. The third part is going to be making the actual part that sticks out, yeah? As you can see, I've made a few of those. We've got one more to make. So I've got 2 flowers made at the moment. I've got 5 more, which is 6, 7, and we're going to make the 8th. All the leaves made and all the stems made. So how do we go about making the main part of this? Quite basic really. It does get a little bit intricate at one point, so I don't know quite how I'm going to show how to finish this project off, but we'll get there. So what we need is a 10-piece or 10-foot piece of cord. Now what I tend to do, it's not necessary, but I tend to double it over and just melt those two together on a temporary basis. Yeah. So they just stay together. It's easier to wield as one. Like so, yeah. So we've got a 10-foot piece folded into 2 lengths of 5 foot. Now we're going to fold it again, like so. So we've got 4 pieces, all 2 foot 6 long, yeah, like so, 2 foot 6. Quite basic to do. We're going to have a 20-inch piece of cord here, and that's going to be our core. We're going to actually lay that between these pieces like so, yeah. Just like that. So that comes up through the 4, like so. Now as I say, it's 20 inches. I give myself about 5 or 6 inches that side. And then we're just, now the art of doing this flower is to be rather precise with each knot. So we'll start it off by coming with those 2 like so, keeping them in line so they're underneath, the whole lot's underneath. We're going to keep them like so. Keep the core hanging down here. The 2 to the left hand side come over the 2 bits that we've just come over the core with. Bit fiddly, and then up through both of the loops. Now once we get to that position, we want to make sure that all is good, that we're looking something like this. There's the core up through there, yeah, and we're just going to tighten down like so. Now the most important thing is to have 2 coming out square and 2 coming out square. Make sure they're nice and tight. Now the 2 on the left, which are coming out underneath, these 2 are on top, if you like, of the knot. These 2 are underneath. The ones that come out underneath will follow through like so. Hopefully we're still in sharp, yeah, like so. So they're over the top of the core. These 2 come over the top of those 2, back up through there. Now again, it's a matter of neatness. So we're going to make sure that we've not crossed over anywhere. That's looking pretty good. And if you can get these staying square on the side, you know that you're winning really. You might have to just play around with it a little bit to keep the knot going. Want to make sure that the core is always free to move there. So that's our first knot. And if we sort of take note of that double one just there, that's going to be our first knot. So all of this is our first knot. Now this side is underneath, this side is on top. So the underneath ones go back across the core, but neat. This one comes over the top of these, underneath the core, and up through like so. Neatness again. Keep them all in line, looking good, like so. And it's this attention to detail that makes it look quite neat as you go round. Now obviously what we're going to do is follow down here, and towards the end we're going to circle it around to make a circle. But in the main we need 10 knots, 10 double knots. So that one's underneath again, so we come back over the top of there, bring this one over the top of those two and back up through the loop. Quite a basic knot really, but it's just using all of these cords. You have to keep in mind that they will go adrift if you allow them to. You can hear me crunching that up, but I do like to make sure that the core is still just moving a little bit. So that's 1, 2, 1, 2 on that side. Underneath, this one's underneath again, that one's on top, yeah, that one's on top, this one's underneath. Bring those two round. They're nice and square, they're not sort of larraping over each other. And I'm going to follow that down now and do 8 knots, then come back to you. Just finish this one off first, up through like so, keeping them square, all look good. Put a bit on that one, like so. So we've got 3 on that side now. I'm just going to go into the third one by going with this one again. So I'll carry on down to doing 8, come back to you shortly. So here we are with 8 cobra knots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and the 8th one. Now we know that the 9th one is going to be tied from coming underneath, but what we've got to do is pull this out so it's not too tight together, bend it round, yeah, like so. Now disregard the tying, all the 4 tying ones at the moment. If we look at the 2 pieces, the core coming out of the knot itself, the 2 core pieces, what we've now got to try and do, and what I want to try and show you, is that we join them just visually together. We don't actually melt them together or anything like that, but the next knot, which will be tied with these 2, will go around both of these, yeah? So we're on 8 knots, we want 10, possibly 11. We'll have to make a decision when we get there. But so, those 2 stay like so. I hold it out, hold it up like that, let that one droop down, but I hold this one up. We now want to go across the 2, like so. So we're going to cross those 2 like that. We're now going to go over the top of these 2, down through there, and come back up through that loop to make another cobra knot. I've got the hold of that one upwards. I want it to go downwards. I want it to go behind, but it's still down. So this knot is tying 2 cords together. Yeah. Now this is the fiddly bit, because we want to still maintain our neatness. Let's think. That one's got to go up a little bit. That one's got to come round, and we're getting, don't let that slip out. Make sure that that stays in there. That it's tying around both ends. Keeping it neat. There it goes, down through there, yeah. just got to make sure that this part of the knot is nice and neat, like so. So we've tied around that part and we've tied around that part. We're going to do the same again. So this one's going to come over the top of those two, making sure that we're neat still. So this one comes over like so. These two go over the top of this loop and back up through that circle, or that loop there, just like a normal cobra, but we're using 4 cables or four cords rather than just one on each side. And then we go. Make sure that's nice and tight. Now the back one we can actually get hold of now and pull it round. We just check on how many knots we've tied, and we take advantage of being able to tighten that last knot up a little bit better. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've only ended up with 9, so we need a 10th. Let's just open that up a little bit, like so. We've got our cords ready. So say it's paying attention to detail really. We'll just check one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we need 10. So we're going to include both of them. We're going to go over the both of them like so, making sure we've got a bit of neatness there. This one's going to go over the top of them and down through. Like so. There's a bit of twist in there, don't want that. That's okay. Then back up through that loop. We should be able to pull home. If you can hear the next door neighbours outside, don't worry, it's the first day after lockdown where families can get together, and my family's been around already and gone. So there we go. We end up with a circle, and again, this is the most important one because we can actually draw it together even more. Yeah. Sorry about this. Sorry about that. Let's make sure that that doesn't happen again. That shouldn't happen again. So we'll take advantage again, just make sure that we've got our knots nice and tight. So we end up by pulling that one with a circle of cobra. Now it's just a matter of cleaning up. We'll take the two off at the base. And melt. We'll cut the double one off in the middle. Bit long those ones, but yeah, I'll cut them again because they're a bit long. That's it. Melt them over. Not too bad. We're leaving the one that we can pull them all together with till the end. We can take that one, which is the other part of the core, cut that one off. And give that a bit of a melt. Sure, I can do better on these middle ones as well. Right, so then we end up with that. We've still got control of where we can actually pull it. Now, once I've got it to the position that I want it, like so, that last knot's a bit big. Probably the worst knot I've tied out of all of them, but it's still acceptable. You decide which side is going to be the front. Now, most of the knots have been cut on the back. I'm happy with where that is, so we'll snip that one off. And give that some heat. Now, it's not necessary, but what I like to do is just a touch of super glue here and there on that join and just hold it into position for a second. Excuse me. Like so. And we end up with a petal, or lots of petals if you like. Now, we're almost to the stage of having to put them all together, which will be the next section, putting them all together. But what I will say is if you look at one of these, it's got a bit of a different pink tinge round the centre, just there. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. So what I've actually done there is I've got some different coloured pink. And just on the outer circumference of that centre, I've cut a small piece and glued it on. And the reason I do that is because I could have made this a treble stop knot. It's a double, but this one will actually go through. So by putting a little bit of more beef around here, a little bit more beef around there, it stops it from falling through. It sort of holds it just about like so. Now the other thing, we will do one more stage before I click off. So we need a bit of green. I would have normally measured this out, but I can look by eye. I want to do a double stop knot, so let's measure it for a camera. A 60-inch piece, which is 5 feet, to actually make what we're going to make now. A stopper knot. I want to show you doing the green stopper knot because I need it to show you how I fit it. We just take that bit off, and again, like the pink, I'm just going to touch those over with the heat, so and join them so that it's as though it's one piece. So we've got 5 feet of cord there. I'm going to do a double stopper knot. It doesn't have to be all that neat, this one, because nobody really sees it, but it's nice to keep things going. So we've doubled it over, we've put it around my finger, over the thumb, twist, bring the vertical up. Let's make sure that, so that one, I do still like to keep things as neat as I can. That one comes up like so, yes. That's how we want it, like so. This one, the vertical comes up behind these two. As you can see, it's got a loop on it, obviously, because we doubled it over. That loop goes through the verticals, like so. And we end up with our diamond in the middle again. Yeah, probably didn't need all this cord, but I've got to make 6 or 7 more, so I'll know what size of cord we'll need. So as I say, this is 5 foot of cord. So we're going to go round with the bit that we joined, round this base, back up through, make sure that it's neat. I can see them crossing over, that's why I'm doing that. The loop on the other end will come round, back up through the diamond, and again we just need to make sure that we're neatish. So we've got all of these coming out this way. Just close this in. So once we got to that stage, we want to start about thinking about how we're going to fit it. So what we actually do is we'll get one of our cores or one of our centre pieces. Now, got the wire in it so it's quite stiff. I'm going to put it up through that way so that the loop, the double loop, is at the base. Once it's through, we can start to tighten it down a bit. And the reason I've put it round that way with the loops at the top, these loops will disappear into these and we'll have 4 cords coming out of here. I'll just show you, not that one, this one. The reason that I've decided to do it like this is, can you see that on this one, where I cut them all off, you can see the edges. Well, I can touch them with green paint, but I'm trying to avoid doing that. Now, if I actually cut them all, they'll all slide up once they're tightened and cut behind this. Yeah? So we'll just finish that one off. Like so. Take some of the slack out. I would say that that is good enough. As I say, I don't want those loops there, so we'll take them out, which is those two. Just take that loop into the knot. One into the knot, and then we can work those loops through the knot to the top, like so. Keep it going. So, and that last one like that, and then we can pull them up through, which is that one, and I believe, nope, the other side of that one. So there we go, we've got it like so. Now if we just snip those off, two as well. Like so. Now the idea is to melt this without deforming this. So we bend it right out the way. bend it double. So we've got an angle to attack those two. We can twist the knot on the shaft and get the other two. Bend up straight again. Now that will actually come up behind the petals, yeah? So we're like that. Straighten up a little bit. So I'll be doing 5 or 6 of those stopper knots to go on the back. And as I say, we're going to have to bunch this up a bit. Now I'm just thinking, in saying that I've probably got to manoeuvre this whole thing through there, which I can do. But I'm definitely going to have to bunker these out. And then what I tend to do is where the join was, that goes to the base. Welcome back to Chord Art for this last part of making this summer flower. Yesterday I left you where we'd just finished doing this double stop knot in green, and I sort of emphasised that we need to have the cuts at the top. Just to make sure that that doesn't come up and down, we're just going to touch a bit of super glue at the join there so that it stays where it's supposed to stay. And we're going to pull this one down and we get some 550 dark pink. And for those who don't like super glue, I would avert your eyes, but what we're basically going to do is pack this stopper knot out with a bit of pink around like so, yeah? So we'll just super glue that on the outer edge, and that's to stop the ball from travelling through the petals. The art of this is not to stick yourself to the stopper knot. And if you can inspect my fingers, because I've just done 6 more of these, they're quite covered in super glue. We just make sure that that's not going to go anywhere. Cut that bit off, just like so. I think you can see, like so. Give that a quick melt so it doesn't spray out all over the place, and then just finish off by touching the super glue on there. Yeah. So that was a bit of a 550 darkish pink, and that still travels up and down the shaft or the stem. Now what we want to do is decide which side the petal looks best. And I've got more melts on this side, so we're going to enter from the melted side. We're just going to push that through, and you can see it travels through quite easily. So this is why we need to now, at this point, bunker this one up slightly. We're not going to use the 550. I've got some thinner cord here, but again we're just going to travel round with a touch of super glue just here and there. Oh, it's fallen off the bottom now. Shouldn't have done, but it has. We can put it all back together again. I think this one's got a slightly bigger centre hole than all the rest of them. You can see that it doesn't actually fall through once we've achieved this. I must have made this last petal slightly more relaxed, but we can deal with it. Right, so there's our bunkered up piece there. Let's just cut that one off. Make sure it's going to stay there with a touch more super glue. Right, so there we are. And yes, it goes that way, but you can see that this is a slightly bigger hole, hence it fell off of there. But that's no real problem because we're going to use quite a bit more glue. Now, as you can see, I've got all of these ready to actually be glued up. They're all sort of ready for that. Now I've got my glue gun and I've just preheated it. So the idea now is to achieve this. The way that we've achieved this is just to push it all together with some hot glue in between, and then just glue the leaves where you want them. As you can see with the two that I've completed, they're not identical. I might even have some leaves coming off this side on one of them. Let's see how we get on with doing that. Let's choose one that's, yeah, that's okay. So we'll take that up as far as we dare, like so. And so we can still get super glue in there. Might need a bit of force. This is the larger one. Let's try one that I know will work. Yeah, let's try this one. So here we are. The idea is that we're going to pull them together like so, yeah. We just release that back up a little bit because I want to put some hot glue in there. You can see the join is down the bottom there, with join there. So we're going to bend this down that direction, like so. Yeah. And then we're going to have two leaves. And I tend to just wrap around like so. Bit of hot glue. Just there. And we'll give it some there. And we bring that around like that. Hold it all in. The glue is still quite soft, so to it before we try and put the that was a small leaf, so we want a larger leaf, and as again it's got the burn mark there, so we want it round like so, and then we'll have it up like that. Yeah, once that's gone off, we can get the stem and wrap it round the bud and give it a bit of glue that way. I'm sure I can do a lot better in my own time and off of camera. We seem to be getting somewhere, yeah? And the next shot I'll show you is with them all together, and hopefully they look something. As you can see, it's quite awkward to actually get it all to stick together, but it does look good once you've achieved it. Yeah. So I'll come back to you shortly. Well, after a few struggles, we managed to get there. This is more or less how I wanted to present them. Had a bit of trouble in what to actually put them in because they're quite bulky, but I think it's come out quite well. So if you like, subscribe to Chord Art, and don't forget that we're associated fully with Paracord Off, which is a group that I run. You'll see lots of other bits and pieces like that if you join us on our group on Paracord Off. Well, until next time, thanks and bye-bye.